What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So we do know that the KIZUNA Clash is going to be starting very shortly, October 21st, so tomorrow night is when it is going to go live. Of course, you can go ahead and farm this event to acquire the Super Evolution Skulls for 6+ Blackbeard. And look, we all know, like, 6+ Blackbeard, like, he's not all that, he's just okay, but hey, you still need to get this done because he will be a boosted character, a relatively high boosted character in upcoming content. And look, he's not, like, the worst unit ever. There are definitely worse characters than this guy in the game, so make sure to go ahead and get it done. You also get a lot of rewards just by playing the event as well. Remember that this is not a super boss KIZUNA, so you only have to build just for the regular 10-star difficulty, and there's only two difficulties to actually two different bosses, two different variations to actually build for, so it's really not that tricky. And the gimmicks that are given to us, in my opinion, aren't that bad. The only real thing is you know, when you're trying to farm, especially normal KIZUNA, you want to make sure that your friend captain that you're building with is going to be like the new point booster character, which of course is going to be Vasco Shot, who debuted in the most recent KIZUNA Clash Sugarfest. So you want to try and use this guy as a friend captain, so building around that is going to be important. Now with this guy's kit, he's kind of built around having 3 or more Blackbeard pirates on the crew. He himself counts as one, so you basically need 2 of your 5 characters on your team to be Blackbeard pirates to fulfill most of the conditions for his kit. So that's going to be what you need to be building for. With that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into the first team, which is going to be versus the Dex variation. So in terms of the gimmicks here, characters that are Strength, Dex, and Int all receive cooldown. Now, you do have to keep in mind you have to build for Vasco Shot. So I'll put a little graphic on the screen so you can see his kit in terms of what he will be providing to your team. And because he is the new character for this content, he is going to be very good against this. He is basically built for it. So by having him as a friend captain, not only does it make the fight easier, but it will also get you more tickets, more points, and everything for the event. So this is the team that I have at the moment. Now you can see that there is a free slot because you can basically put whatever you want, just because Vasco Shot does so much heavy lifting that it kind of frees up a lot of space on the crew. So on stage 2, we're inflicted with 5 turns of bind, which we can get around via the sockets that we have, as well as the Lafitte support on Blackbeard, removing 2 turns of burn on infliction. We're also given normal attacks only, which is whatever. We're inflicted with a poison, and there's also a health cut. Now the poison, we don't really need to deal with it on stage 2, and when we activate Satin special, that actually removes poison for us, which is great. But you know, because of the way that KIZUNA is, you don't necessarily actually need to get rid of the poison. It is interesting though, because there is going to be like lots of health cuts, so you could get to really low health thresholds, and then the poison could actually play a factor. If that is the case, we do have Int Satin on the team, so you could just put like the treasure map Shiryu support. I mean, heck, let's just do it now, right? Because I mean, just to be safe, right? So just put Shiryu here, who attaches to any Int character. We're inflicted with poison, we heal it, and we get a bit of a health recovery. So that's going to be perfect. That'll work out, no problems. When we move on to the last stage, of course, we're only looking at level 31 and above. Now for this one, we are inflicted with special use limit, where you can only use 2 turns, or 3 specials for 2 turns. We can remove that via the potential ability of Vasco Shot Friend Captain. There's also Recovery Bind, which is whatever. There's a Burn, which Vasco Shot also deals with. There is Stun, which Vasco Shot also deals with. There is a left column 5-turn bind, so it's only 2 turns of bind, but that is the reason why we have Doc Q on the team, not only because he does have the Blackbeard Pirate tag, but he also can remove the bind. He does orb change for us, which is fantastic. And then also we have to deal with 8 turns of Rainbow Shield, 6 turns of damage threshold, and then you know, there is an interrupt when you activate an orb boost, but because of Vasco Shot's captain effect, where anytime we're inflicted with a burn, he converts that effect into an orb boost instead. So because we have that, we don't have to worry about the interrupt. And then because we are using this strength Blackbeard as a captain, we can bypass any defensive effect that the enemy has anyway. So like the Blackbeard captain, the Doc Q, and the friend captain Vasco Shot essentially deal with everything, and then the rest of the slots on the crew are just to provide additional damage when you reach the final stage, which is why we have Satin, who provides a humongous orb, or attack boost should I say, for our striker and driven characters. We do have the Luffy on the team here. Luffy can be replaced with literally whatever. Like, he is literally redundant on this team. He's just kind of here because he's a recently released character. I'm assuming he's is a boosted character in this content. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. This is a relatively easy fight with Vasco Shot Friend Captain, and then the other Blackbeard pirate supporting him. So one other thing that I did forget about with the Dex variation boss is that the enemy does do a 100,000 death hit. So with this particular fight, because you have so much open space, you can just replace one of the characters here with something that gives you a significant damage reduction on the final stage. Remember though that because there are a lot of health cuts on the Dex variation, and also Vasco's shot is continuously cutting your health, you do actually want a pretty substantial damage reduction or a huge damage threshold, which I believe the rare recruit KIZUNA character Avalo Pizarro gives you a damage threshold. So you want something akin to that gives you either damage reduction, a very significant damage reduction, or a very significant damage threshold to help you tank that death hit. Moving on to our secondary fight we have to take on versus the Psy variation of Blackbeard. Now, stage 1, we're inflicted with a cooldown reduction for shooters, driven, and powerhouse. Remember that Vasco's shot, friend captain, he does boost int, driven, and powerhouse. So if you're building for that anyway, this shouldn't be a problem, but you can run shooter characters as well, though they will receive cooldown. Stage 2, there is an effect where we're inflicted with a pain debuff for 5 turns, which is removed via Vasco Shot's captain ability, so long as you are fulfilling the condition of having 3 or more Blackbeard pirates, which on this team we are, with the Blackbeard, the Burgess, and the Vasco Shot friend captain. There is also going to be 2 turns of Rainbow Shield, which we can get rid of via using a Vasco Shot special, or by using the super type of Vasco Shot. Either of those will remove that effect. Then we can go ahead and move on to the final stage, and this is why we're using Fire Tank Pirates as a captain, because I'm sure many of you would be wondering why we're using them. The main reason why we're doing this is because the enemy has an effect that will blow away 2 random crewmates for 2 turns. This is where you're supposed to use the KIZUNA rare recruit Avalo Pizarro, who just resists blowaway and then has a special that can bring your blown away characters back. But by using Fire Tank Pirates, we can just resist the blowaway, so it doesn't really matter. There is also an effect where if you consume a recovery or assembler slot, you actually take damage from it instead, and then they give you a full board of recovery slots. Fire Tank Pirates change block, recovery, and type slots into matching, and so that just gets around those recovery slot effects. And Fire Tank Pirates also give us an attack boost for our driven and our shooter characters, so our whole team is going to be receiving a buff there. The burn that we're inflicted, Vasco Shot changes that into an orb boost. There's going to be an Intimidate, so if you activate any orb boost or color affinity boost, they remove 1 turn of that, so keep that in mind. There's also going to be Resilience, which is why we put the Zoro on this team. Zoro will do end of turn damage, and then with the support of the Hiyori, we get a chain boost out of it. Now, one thing to note is you don't specifically have to use Zoro if you don't want to. You can just have another free spot on your crew for whatever else you want to do, because of the ship that we have here, which is the Dreadnought Saber, which is it's actually a really good ship if you upgrade it with the Super Cola to level 12, because you can see that it actually receives an attack boost. Driven and Powerhouse get a 1.4 times attack boost. Before the upgrade, I believe it didn't actually give an attack boost. The main reason why the ship is chosen is because it has an effect where you do 20,000 damage to all enemies at the end of the turn. So it just does end of turn damage for you. So there's a couple of different options there. You can go Dreadnought Saber, or you could put a character that does end of turn damage, or you have a character that removes 10 turns of Resilience. There's also 11 turns of Bind on all of your crewmates. So this is where some of these supports come in. We have this one right here, which is the, what do you call it? I don't even remember this character's name. Bao Huang. It's a support rare recruit, and it just says that if the enemy changes your slots, which they do on the final stage, then it removes 1 turn of Bind, Paralysis, Special Use Limit. You get 60% damage reduction, which is also pretty good. So do keep that in mind when you're building for this particular one, because damage reduction is going to be really nice to have. And then also, there is going to be the Lafitte on Blackbeard to remove further 2 turns of Bind. We also have the Caesar Clown attached to the Fire Tank Pirate. So this is another support rare recruit that, in my opinion, probably isn't needed, but the main reason why we've chosen it is because it does give you the effect of, if you use a special to boost attack or orbs, which Fire Tank Pirates give you an attack boost, it reduces 2 turns of Bind. It also poisons the enemy and gives you a 1.5 times conditional boost against poison. So this gives you a lot of benefits by using it. Now, the enemy does have an interrupt where if you use a delay, a poison, or a defense down on the enemy, they will remove your beneficial effects. The thing is though, is that they will not activate that interrupt if it's from a support effect. So because this activates via the support, don't have to worry about that at all. And then the final spot in your crew you can kind of just have for whatever you want, because Vasco Shot will deal with all of the other additional turns of bind. He will remove the rainbow shield as well. So yeah, Vasco Shot and this squad here works very, very well. And then you have a lot of options in regards to what you want to do, whether you want to use the Dreadnought Saber, or you want to go ahead and use Zoro, or whatever else you want for end of turn damage. And then you're kind of just free to do whatever else you want to do with the rest of this squad. And with that, that will conclude the KIZUNA Clash preparation for this video today. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.